Thailand's Prime Minister voices concern over rare demand from anti-government protesters. Thousands of student protesters are calling for Prayut Chan-o-cha's resignation and reforms to the constitution and the Thai monarchy. And for a closer look, let's speak with Dr. Aim Sinpeng, lecturer at the University of Sydney. Dr. Aim, it's a rare show of dissent from students against Thailand's government and now the monarchy. Help us understand what sparked this all.
There has been some low-level discontent indirectly about the monarchy on Twitter for a number of months. To be honest, most people are actually surprised about the demands by a few protest leaders that just occur as well. So the monarchy wasn't really the core focus of the recent rounds of anti-government protests up until now.
And what are some of their demands then, and how are they different from past years?
The key demands are: we want more democracy, especially protection of civil and liberty rights of citizens. We want dissolution of parliament, and we want a new constitution. They're not really different from previous rounds of protests, actually. They're just a continuation of discontent against Thai politics generally, but definitely a direct backlash against the 2019 election results.
And one of the protesters' demand then is to call for an end to the government's prolonged hold on power. Will this be effective in their push for constitutional amendments, do you think?
We're going to have to wait and see. There has been a number of other demands that have emerged that's unrelated to basically the change of government. For example, there have been some protests asking for rights for the LGBTQ communities. So I think because the protests this time appear to be less structured, we're going to try to figure out whether or not the leadership behind a lot of these groups can actually find the momentum to stay focused on the core demands of the anti-government protests. I think what would happen would depend a lot on how the government responds. And right now, the government is not directly responds to the protests at all. They're taking a high road. So there's two strategies that the government is doing. One is pressuring the leadership of universities and schools to keep their students in control. And this, for example, the executive of Thailand University, which was responsible for the largest protest against the government, came out and apologized for the comments made directly about the monarchy. So I think this pressure tactics towards the institutions of the students will continue. The second one would be the mobilization of counter-protest groups, so supporters of the government, and especially because the issue of the monarchy has been evoked, we're going to see again the remobilization of pro-monarchy groups on the streets.
Well, interestingly, the Thai king has asked the Prime Minister, Mr. Prayut, not to arrest anyone under the lèse majesté laws. Why do you think that's been the case?
Under the new king, it appears that there has been less focus on lèse majesté in order to strengthen the monarchical institution. It's believed that this would create a more positive image, especially around the world, about the Thai monarchy. So I don't think this will change. The stance will not change. So if there is a confrontation over the discourse relating to the monarchical institution between the pro-monarchy groups and some of the groups that may appear to be anti-monarchy, I don't think in the short run that will lead to any changes with regards to the position relating to lèse majesté from the monarchical institution.
Well, let's look at the protest. Are there any fears of perhaps maybe widespread unrest, or could there actually be a peaceful solution to this situation?
There's no resolution right now because the government is not directly communicating with any of the protest groups. So there is no direct dialogue. to discuss what kind of solutions, right? Basically, the government decided, well, you want us out, we're not going to talk to you right now. So I think this would just continue. The confrontation will occur again, as I mentioned, when pro-monarchy groups start to get mobilized against on the street, and they've already started. This is going to be the defining moment, whether or not we're going to see direct confrontation on the streets.
All right, well, thank you for helping us understand the context of it all. Dr. Aim Sinpeng, lecturer at the University of Sydney.